So I wanted to take a look at pronouns in French and English and how they are being handled differently as an inequity. As a kid, I was in French immersion, and I still remember when I learned about pronouns. I was in grade 2 or 3. I lived in Winnipeg at the time, um, and I just remember thinking how very, very strange how pronouns work was to me as a kid. Basically, if you have a group of girls, you use elle. If you have a group of boys, you use il. But if you have a group of girls and there's one boy in it, you use the male pronoun. You could have 6 billion women, but put one man in that group and you use the male pronoun. And I remember thinking how I just didn't understand why at the time. Now I understand a little bit more of the history of language and power dynamics, and especially throughout history, how that shaped languages. But the fact that I remember it from grade 2, the moment of learning that, is pretty powerful to me. And I know a lot of people who would say, oh, you're overreacting. It's just a word. It's just how it is. It doesn't have a reason. Well, yeah, it does have a reason, because historically, the presence of a man overpowered that of a woman, and in many instances today it still does, and that bled into how the language developed. And it's archaic, but also it's permuting these themes currently. So, yes, it's still relevant because you're telling women and girls that their presence is negated by that of a man. I actually have a real world concrete example. My sister is in high school still, and she's in a business class with a transgender student whose preferred pronoun is female. And the class was on board and referred to her with her preferred pronoun, and the teacher actually threw a fit and demanded that her classmates use her birth gender to identify the student, which is so wrong. So wrong. And this student felt so threatened that they actually left the school. They had to move. So you can see how much power a pronoun has. In one single word, it encapsulates so much about a person. It encapsulates their gender identity, not only assigned at birth, but also self-identified. And gender identity comes with so many other aspects of identity that are all tied together. They have so much power over who somebody sees themselves to be that it is unfair, unethical, and inequitable not to use the proper pronoun when talking to or about someone. It's completely wrong. The French language is governed by the Académie Française, who makes the grammar rules for standard French. So in French, if you actually refer to an entire planet full of women with one man in it as a feminine pronoun, according to the governing body of the who regulates the French language, you are breaking a grammar rule. However, if in English you refer to someone who prefers a female pronoun by their female pronoun, you're not breaking any grammar rules because there's no governing body. So the issue surrounding using a preferred pronoun to refer to somebody is something that exists universally in languages. However, this problem with gendered languages is not something that exists in English, but it's also not something that has raised any backlash, I believe, because it is so strictly regulated by the Académie Française. Whatever they say surrounding grammar, lexicon, and syntax is law. And that's why when I tried to do some research on it to find some arguments and some credible sources for this rant, I really couldn't find anything because it's not seen as a problem. And I find that really unfortunate.